In recent news, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has been making headlines by challenging France and its president, Emmanuel Macron.
Il y a une partie qui a retenu mon attention, là où il parlait d'ingratitude. Il devrait aussi prier les Africains, parce que c'est grâce à nos ancêtres qu'il existe aujourd'hui une France. Il devra nous prier.
From kicking out French troops to calling out Macron, Traoré is making it clear that he hates them and wants them out of his country's affairs. But why does Traoré hate Macron and France so much? Is it because of things France did in the past, or what is happening now? Or is Traoré just using this fight to win support at home? Let's start from the beginning, from Burkina Faso's painful history under French rule to its battle for true independence today, and why it matters for all of Africa. The tension between Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's interim president, and French President Emmanuel Macron is one of the most intense geopolitical clashes in modern Africa. This is not just a personal clash between two leaders, it is a fight rooted in centuries of colonial history, ongoing economic exploitation, and a growing wave of anti-French beliefs across the continent. Public enemy? Traoré, a young military officer who seized power in 2022, has become a symbol of resistance against what many Africans see as France's prolonged neo-colonial grip. His strong speeches, bold actions like expelling French troops, and direct verbal attacks on Macron have captured global attention. Why is Traoré so determined to stand up to France? Well, the roots of Traoré's hostility toward France lie in a history that stretches back over a century. And this is how it all started. During the late 19th century, France joined other European powers in the rush to take control of Africa, colonizing much of the continent. By the early 20th century, France controlled the region known as Upper Volta, which is now called Burkina Faso. Under French rule, life for the Burkinabé was unpleasant. The French extracted resources like gold and cotton, forced locals into hard labor, and treated them as second-class citizens. Even though France built some roads, schools, and systems, these were mostly for their own benefit, not to help the people living there. Even worse, the French colonial rule tore apart their traditional African societies. The French drew new borders, ignored local cultures, and created divisions that still cause problems today. The past may be long gone, but its scars remain. When Burkina Faso became independent in 1960, it was supposed to mark the end of French rule, but in reality, France kept a firm grip on its former colony. Through a system known as Francophone, France continued to control key parts of Burkina Faso's economy and politics. This neo-colonial framework ensured French companies dominated key industries, such as mining and telecommunications, while the CFA franc, a currency tied to the French treasury, limited Burkina Faso's ability to make its own financial decisions. But that is not all. France also stationed troops in the region, claiming to maintain stability, but what the troops were actually doing was to protect France's economic and political interests. To many in Burkina Faso, this didn't feel like true independence. Instead, it seemed like colonialism had simply taken on a new form, one where France still held the power just behind the scenes. Is France scared of leaving them alone? It should not be their decision to make. One of the most important leaders in Burkina Faso's history was Thomas Sankara, who served as president from 1983 to 1987. A bold and inspiring revolutionary, Sankara fought against French control and pushed for African self-reliance, unity, and fairness. He even changed the country's name from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, which means land of the upright people, and introduced policies to break free from foreign aid. But his refusal to bow to France and Western powers made him enemies. In 1987, he was killed in a coup, an overthrow many believe was backed by France and its allies. Today, Sankara's legacy lives on, especially for current leader Ibrahim Traoré, who frequently speaks about continuing Sankara's dream of a strong, independent Africa. But can Traoré realize his dream? For Traoré, France's past actions in Burkina Faso, which includes exploiting resources, meddling in politics, and betraying leaders like Sankara, are not just history. They are a deep insult, both to him personally and to the nation he leads. This fuels his determination to stand up to foreign influence, especially against France, and fight for a truly free Burkina Faso. So when the chance came to challenge France, he took it with both hands. And from that moment, Traoré and Macron were destined to clash. Tensions between Traoré and Macron intensified in early 2023 when Burkina Faso's military government, led by Traoré, ordered French troops to leave the country. This move came after years of rising frustration over France's military presence, especially its Operation Barkhane, a counterterrorism mission in the Sahel region. France argued that its soldiers were there to fight jihadist groups, but many in Burkina Faso saw them as occupiers, more focused on protecting French business interests than actually improving security. Despite years of French involvement, the jihadist threat only grew, leading to accusations that France was either failing or even secretly keeping the conflict going to justify staying longer. Are the jihadists stronger than the French? It is a question that will remain unanswered. The tension between Traoré and Macron got to breaking point in January 2025 when French President Emmanuel Macron made a speech that many saw as disrespectful. Speaking at a summit, Macron called African nations ungrateful for questioning France's support, including military aid and development projects. For Traoré, this was not just a careless comment, but a deep insult to African pride and history.
Il a aussi insulté tous les Africains.
Je crois qu'on a oublié de nous dire merci. C'est pas grave, ça viendra avec le temps.
Il y a une partie qui a retenu mon attention, là où il parlait d'ingratitude.
L'ingratitude, je suis bien placé pour le savoir, c'est une maladie non transmissible à l'homme.
Lui, il est humain, notre ingratitude n'est pas transmissible à lui. Voilà comment ce monsieur voit l'Afrique, voit les Africains. Nous ne sommes pas des humains à ses yeux. Je pense que s'il n'est pas athée et qu'il prie, à chaque matin qu'il se réveille et qu'il prie, il devrait aussi prier les Africains. Parce que c'est grâce à nos ancêtres qu'il existe aujourd'hui une France. Il devrait nous prier.
He fired back at Macron and said, "If anyone is ungrateful, it is him. France exists today thanks to our ancestors. They should be thanking us, not insulting us." His words weren't just a quick comeback, they carried the weight of centuries of pain. From the exploitation of African labor and resources to the ongoing economic control through mechanisms like the CFA franc. Traoré's response escalated the conflict. In his speech, he called for African nations to cancel military cooperation agreements with France, arguing that true independence required building their own defense systems, not relying on foreign powers. Traoré also accused French President Emmanuel Macron of looking down on African nations instead of treating them as equal partners. Is he right about that? This was not just about one speech, it was a rejection of Macron's broader approach to Africa. Since taking office in 2017, Macron promised a new era in France-Africa relations, emphasizing partnership over paternalism. But many Africans feel little has changed. His policies, which include continued military deployments, defense of the CFA franc, and economic dominance by French companies, have been seen by many Africans as a continuation of Franc-Afrique under a modern disguise. However, Traoré didn't just talk, he took action. By forcing French troops to leave, he made it clear that Burkina Faso was breaking free from France's control. He also banned French news channels like France 24 and Radio France Internationale, claiming they spread unfair stories that caused unrest in his country. These steps were more than just practical, they sent a strong message about Burkina Faso's independence and helped Traoré win support at home. The big question is, why does Traoré dislike Macron so much? Is it personal, political, or a mix of both? On a personal level, Traoré's words and actions show real disrespect to Macron. He refuses to engage diplomatically and has even insulted Macron directly, like calling Macron's ungrateful remark an insult to Africa's ancestors. Their backgrounds are very different, as Macron comes from privilege and speaks like a polished politician, while Traoré is a military man with a tough populist style. But their clash is not just about politics, it is cultural, even emotional. To Traoré, Macron represents everything he hates: Western arrogance, elitism, and sense of superiority. So, is it personal or political? The answer might be both. Traoré's anger runs deep, and Macron is the perfect target. But Macron himself is not making things better. Instead of calming tensions, his stubborn defense of France's role in Africa, along with poorly chosen words, has only helped Traoré's argument. Macron wants to keep France's influence strong in a world that's changing fast, while Traoré is demanding full independence. Who will win? For now, the conflict only grows. Traoré's push to break away from France is about more than just staying away from France. It is about freedom in every sense. He wants Burkina Faso to stand on its own, with control over its money, its security, and its future. A big part of this plan is taking charge of the country's natural riches, especially gold. Before, foreign companies, many of which are French, profit the most from Burkina Faso's gold while the country stays poor. But Traoré has changed that. He has nationalized the gold industry. By keeping more of these profits at home, he hopes to build a stronger economy that doesn't rely on handouts from other nations. His ideas are not new. They follow in the footsteps of Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader who once ruled Burkina Faso. Sankara believed Africa should feed itself, make its own goods, and control its own fate. Traoré is bringing that same burning spirit back, urging African nations to break free from old dependencies and write their own stories. This is not just about Burkina Faso, it is about a bigger vision for all of Africa. This vision has led Traoré to seek new international partners, especially Russia. Unlike France, Russia has no colonial history in Africa, making it an attractive ally for leaders like Traoré. Russian mercenaries, such as the rebranded Wagner Group, have provided military support to Burkina Faso, filling the void left by French troops. Russia's anti-Western stance aligns with Traoré's narrative, and its willingness to supply arms and training without demanding political changes has helped to strengthen his regime. However, this pivot has sparked a debate. Some argue that Traoré is simply swapping one foreign power for another, as Russia's involvement comes with its own strategic interests, including access to African resources. Is this a true step towards independence, or just a new form of dip? We will find out soon. Politically, Traoré's stance is strategic. By framing France as the enemy, he unites Burkina Faso's people against a common enemy. Many Burkinabe are tired of foreign influence, especially with so much insecurity and poverty in the country. Blaming foreign influences helps Traoré strengthen his leadership. The conflict between France and Burkina Faso is not just about Burkina Faso. It could shape the future of the entire region. For Captain Traoré, this is a fight to save both his leadership and his country. By pushing out France, he hopes to take control of Burkina Faso's resources, build a stronger military, and unite the nation with a renewed sense of pride. But the risks are high. Since French troops left, security has weakened, and Russian support, while politically popular, has not been a perfect solution. Violent attacks by jihadists have not stopped, with more than 1,500 lives lost in 2024. The economy is also struggling, with most citizens living on less than $900.00 a year. Relying heavily on gold exports makes the country unstable, as shifting global prices can hurt growth. Many people also fear Traoré's tough stance against the West could backfire. The European Union, once a major aid provider, may pull back support, leaving Burkina Faso even more isolated. What will happen is still unknown. Will Traoré's bold moves bring stability, or will they lead to greater chaos? The world is watching. For France, the growing tensions in Africa signal a deeper problem: its declining power in the region. Countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, once close partners, are now turning against France, embracing Russian ties instead. This shift is destroying President Macron's global ambitions and puts France's economic interests at risk. Key investments like gold mines, infrastructure deals, and trade agreements are in danger as the African nations are looking for new allies. Macron's strategy of keeping French troops in Africa to fight terrorism and counter Russia has also backfired. Instead of winning support, it has angered local populations who see France as overstepping. Now the entire Sahel region, a crucial zone for controlling migration and extremism, is drifting away from French influence. With its grip weakening, France must rethink its approach to Africa. But can Macron adapt in time, or will France lose its foothold completely? For Africa, this moment is a turning point. Captain Traoré's bold resistance has sparked a fire, inspiring a new generation to fight for true freedom. Not just from France, but from all foreign powers. Across the continent, people are demanding true independence. The rise of military-led governments in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso shows a clear message. Many Africans are tired of Western-backed leaders and are ready to take control of their own future. But the road ahead is far from easy. Turning to Russia for support may bring quick wins like military aid and political backing, but it could also trap these nations in a new kind of dependency. Russia, after all, is hungry for Africa's rich resources. Meanwhile, true economic freedom remains out of reach. Global markets and financial institutions, still dominated by the West, hold the keys to trade and money. The struggle is real, but so is the hope. Africa is writing a new chapter, one where it refuses to be controlled by foreign powers. Will this push for independence lead to real power or just new forms of struggle? Time will show us. The hostilities between Ibrahim Traoré and Emmanuel Macron is more than a personal dispute. It is a clash of histories, ideologies, and visions for Africa's future. Traoré's hatred for France comes from a colonial legacy of exploitation carried out through economic control and military presence. However, his leadership is inspired by the legacy of Thomas Sankara, carrying the same bold spirit that fought to free Burkina Faso from foreign control. Whether he succeeds or not, Traoré has started an important debate about Africa's place in the world, challenging the old ways of thinking and inspiring a generation to dream of true independence. As the continent stands at a crossroads, Traoré's bold actions send a powerful message. His courage inspires hope, but it also warns us. The fight for true independence is full of challenges, even as it lights the way forward. His story pushes us to act while reminding us that freedom is never easily won. What do you think? Is Traoré right to hate Macron and France? Will Burkina Faso be better without France? Jump into the comments section and share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss our next video.